Good morning. Whoa. There's an echo coming from somewhere. Okay, wait, no. I think it went away. Good morning. Welcome to the Coffee Table Talks. Today we
That
have
may have been my YouTube.
Was it? Oh, okay. I was so shocked at my own echo. It was amazing.
Is that my voice?
I planned on holding my cup, like doing the good morning, right? Coffee Table Talks, but I still have my hand full of all of my fountain pen pieces that Rob sent me. So I was in the pre-show, I was chatting with Frank here, our guest, which we're going to get to in just a second, about how awesome Rob Fox is. Excited to be seen. Look at Rob. So I was chatting with Rob earlier this week, and I mentioned how cool it is that so many people in IT and cybersecurity have hobbies that are so non-technical, absolutely like the opposite direction. Like it's almost like homesteading. Okay. And Rob's like, oh, I do fountain pen. Fountain pens are my hobby. And I was like, I've never even written with a fountain pen. I've never even held a fountain pen. He sent me a fountain pen. And I haven't had a chance to play with it yet. And I was telling Frank about it and Will in the pre-show. And Frank, Frank's like, oh yeah. And like he's got like a holster. Like this is a thing. Is this a thing?
It's holstered. It's monogrammed. My business card is die cut. It's got the little screw top, right? It screws onto the back. It's a thing.
Wow.
This is I am prepared. I'm new to this economic bracket. I feel like Jennifer Lawrence in the meme. Like, what do I do? Hello. What do I do? Like, I don't know what to do with my hands. So anyway, Rob, I'm working on it.
I always felt that if I ever got a fountain pen, I'd have to like do penmanship classes all over again or something, because it would.
Look, I journal, and look, the goal for this, and I want Rob, you better make a post whenever I make this happen, okay? I want a whole post about it. As I'm gonna write Rob a thank you card. What do you say? What brand of
nib and pen? That's for Frank.
I was like, what? Don't you know what you sent me?
So this is from Holtz Leather Company, and I don't know the brand of nib. Let's see, but it is an iridium point. So there's that.
What does that mean? What does that mean? What does it mean?
It's just the material on the top. That's all. Okay. But yeah, they're pretty fancy. I just got into it, but that's kind of the way that you start, right? You just get into it, and then you find the obsession of it. So, but I'm pretty obsessed with like handwriting. So that's kind of the thing that I like to do. I get compliments all the time of my handwriting. It's not great, but apparently it's better than most.
Oh, great. So you'll have to start saving up for the Mont Blanc.
Yes.
I'm going to put this away for now, or else I'm going to be distracted this whole time.
I mean, sometimes it's what you got to do.
So anyway, if you're new here, hi, my name is Rachel Arnold. I'm the Human API with Secure Nation. This is Will, my co-host. Will, say hi. Will is the program manager for the IT Center for Excellence at Pima Community College out of Tucson, Arizona. And that's Frank. I like Frank.
Hola.
So Frank is with Radware, which if you don't know anything about Radware, don't worry. You can go connect with Frank with that QR code right there. That leads to his LinkedIn.
And don't worry, I don't think they make fountain pens.
No, they don't. They don't. Radware is all about DDoS mitigation. Yeah. They're going to help you out. It's going to be great. I made a post about it earlier this week. It didn't get a lot of traction because I was trying to find a meme, and Meg suggested that I get an image that's like the loading image and then be like, this meme is loading. So I did something like that. Anyway, you can find that too. We're going to talk about Frank today. I swear. I got so distracted by a fountain pen. It happens so often in my life. I've been talking about this too. Rob, this is your fault. This is so bad. This is what happens whenever you get the neurospicy mind like hyper focused on something. That's all I can do right now. Is just
squirrel.
Oh, good.
I love it.
It's a thing.
Now we have squirrels with fountain pens. That's dangerous.
No, what is that called? ADOLS, right? Attention deficit. Oh, look, squirrel.
Yeah. It's like that. It is. I don't know what HD is, but the doctor said I got 80 of them, you know? Like
Rob will need to provide us with a link to a lexicon of 3-letter acronyms for fountain pens.
I love it.
It'll work out. So anyway, so look, everybody, look. I met Frank. I don't even know if I told Will this yet. I met Frank at, was it B-Sides or NolaCon? I get them screwed up. NolaCon. I met Frank at NolaCon. Thank you, Frank. That's why partners matter. I met Frank at NolaCon, and we had the Secure Nation had a table. You guys had a table too.
Yes.
Who was it that was standing at the table? It was Joe and Mark.
Gary. We can call him Jerry. We can do like Parks and Rec. His real name's Gary. We call him Jerry. It works out great.
It was Gary. Was it Gary and Mark?
Yes, Gary and Mark. Yep.
Yeah. And Gary was manning the table, and Mark and Frank came to lunch with me, where they got to meet a bunch of my friends. Anyway, we learned the value of networking at that event and what it actually is. So I told Frank to come and hang out so I could introduce all of you to Frank, because he's a great, wonderful person. Sorry, tiny human in the background. Don't pay attention.
It's a virtual background, so it's not even a real human.
No, it's not. Yes, it is. Everybody is tiny humans. Are you kidding me? They have figured it out by now. Like I only have 2 out of 3 home today, so that's nice. It's a nice thing. So, Frank, how did you get into the industry, and how did you end up at Radware?
Well, after my 2nd doctorate degree and my 8th master's degree, no.
You're a mess.
I actually got started in the field by taking out trash.
Are you serious?
100%.
Okay, explain. Now I'm interested.
And I have a coworker that can corroborate this. So I'll reveal that coworker here in a little bit. But I was in the Marines, got out of the Marines, and couldn't find a good job. So I was doing like security. So I was a bodyguard for celebrities at one point. I worked with DJ AM and did some work with MTV. And
Frank is an impressive specimen in person. Like, I'm built like a linebacker. For those who haven't been here before, I've said it before, this chair is deceiving. Okay, I am 6 foot tall and built like a linebacker. Like, I could take out a whole line, right? Frank is impressive. For me to stand, like, I 100% believe that you would be a bodyguard.
Well, for context, because I don't know if this gives it justification, but I'm 6'5" and I'm 260. So, but yeah, so I was doing that and couldn't find a good job because that doesn't pay well, and so I was going to go back into the Marines, and my father-in-law had told me that there was a position available at the company that he was working at, where he was a software validation engineer, and he had mentioned my name, and they said, sure, put him on the list. And so I showed up in a full suit because I very much so respect the interview process. And I get downstairs to meet with the hiring manager and the HR guy, and they're like, wow, you're big, you'll do. And I was like, oh, thanks. And they're like, why'd you wear a suit? And I said, well, I wanted to respect the interview process. And so they're like, well, yeah, you can start Monday, and it's like $15 an hour. And so all it was taking out trash, but I didn't know what that meant. I just thought glorified janitor. But turns out what it was is the company that I was contracting with was moving from one data center to another data center, and they're in telecommunications. And so the racks, they get put in these huge wooden buckets, like these huge wooden crates, and they move them over to the new location. They stand them up, and all those pallets need to get thrown away. And so my job was just to throw them away. Well, they were 3 months behind, so they're like, "Hey, we need you to like work as much as you can. Like you're a contractor, work as much as you want, but like we're very far behind on this." And so uh, I started working on like a Monday, and I worked like 18 hours the first day and just continued to do that. I impressed my manager at the time, but there wasn't any thought to be an engineer. And it wasn't until I started meeting some of the actual engineers that were there, like Jay Benjamin, or and I'm just gonna shamelessly plug a couple of people: Jay Benjamin, Andrew Dominowski, John Yu, Russell Brungart was my manager, and a lot of these guys would like, we became friends. We started talking. I would still take out trash. They would do whatever it was that they did, which was magic to me. And one day I asked them, I said, "Hey, what is it that you do?" And they started introducing me to it slowly. And after a while, I went from taking out trash to working in the data center, building out RJ45 cables. So I would just do 568B configurations on RJ45s, and they're like, "Do 17,000 of these." And
wow, wow.
that's what I did. I just put on headphones and I forget everything.
You're good at that, and you can probably do it in your sleep.
Yes. But the thing was, like, I get so like engrossed in what it is that I'm doing that if I just put on some music, which is usually like very peaceful, calm music, most people are like, "Wow, this, I would not have expected you to listen to this kind of music." Like, I listen to Enya. And so I just put on Enya, and I just go, and I forget breakfast, I forget lunch, I forget dinner. Like, I would forget to go to sleep if somebody didn't remind me when the security comes by and they're like, "Hey, it's 11 o'clock. What are you doing here this late?" But yeah, slowly they started teaching me, and I did that. Then I did rack and stack, and worked on power distribution panels. And then I started getting into data fill, which is where John Yu and Jay Benjamin really helped me. And then a job came up where they needed a little humans, where they needed a
that's the partner human, that's the spouse.
Oh, that's Josh.
Yeah.
I said hello.
I will. Hey, Josh, Frank says hey. Yep.
So what ended up happening was they had a position open for a lab technician, and I wanted the job. And I had asked my manager, and he had laughed and said, "Sorry, but you don't have any experience." And then I asked his boss, and he was like, "You don't have a degree." And then I asked his boss, and he was like, "Yeah, right." And then I asked HR, and they're like, "There's no way." And so that normally, I guess that would kill somebody's mood and drive. But I was like, who cares? I'm still going to try to get there. Why not? Yeah. Like, the worst that's going to happen is they'll kick me out or put a restraining order on me. And that to me is not bad. So
that's not that bad. That's neither one of those things are jail time.
Exactly. Well, and unless you violated the second time.
Right. You're fine. This is fine.
Yeah. So I started learning, and Jay really helped me substantially. And so did John Yu. They taught me networking, and they taught me how to work in firewalls, and how to pronounce a VLAN correctly. and so randomly one day, I get a text from my manager, Russell, and he says, "Hey, you have an interview with Tim Danks, the director." And he said, "It's tomorrow at 9 a.m. So I'm freaking out because I know what this is for, but that he's like a man of very little words. And so that's all he sent. And I said, okay. So once again, I get on the full suit and tie, and I print out a resume, which is one little line item that says contractor, and kind of what I did there. And in the morning, I went for the interview, and I sat down with the director. I handed him my interview, and my resume. He looked at it, and he goes, "Cute," and threw it on the floor. So I am thinking this is just symbolism. They're just doing it for the sake of saying, we gave you an interview, stop asking. And so I'm pretty crushed at this point. And
yeah, that'll hurt your feelings.
Yeah, especially because he said cute. and he said, "Look, I don't need your resume." He said, we're not even really going to interview you. Like, we see the work that you've done. We know you work hard. We're going to hire you because we know that you can do the job. And so I thought this was amazing.
Yeah.
And I was just over the moon at this point. However, I got a call from my friend who's a recruiter, and he was the prior service Marine recruiter. And he said, "Hey, man, why haven't you signed your orders?" And I said, "What orders?" Prior to me starting this job, I was going to go back into the Marines, and I was going to go into a specialized job that required me to interview with like the commanding officer and like the first sergeant and all of these people. And if I passed this interview, I would get offered a position in the Marine Corps where I would fly around all of North America working at all the bases. And turns out I actually passed that interview. So there was like 3,100 people that applied, and I was the one that was offered the position. And I didn't know this for 30 days.
Oh, no.
And he's my friend. We actually went to lunch several times within that month, and yet he never told me. So
you should probably have mentioned it.
Yeah. And so he told me I have till the end of that day to sign the contract. Otherwise, it's going to go to the next person in line. And I don't have a job yet. I only have the idea of a promise of a job. So I go back to the director who's talking to the two managers, and I'm like, "Hey, I don't mean to put a rush on things, but I just found out that I have to sign orders today and leave to the military unless I get a job offer." And they said, "Okay, we'll see what we can do." And so I had to do 3 more interviews, and they were with people overseas. And they managed to get people that were in the States with me that knew me to sign off that they did the interview. And the people who had to go overseas, which it was 3:00 in the morning overseas, where the paperwork needed to get signed. And the people that were there just so happened to be there, signed the paperwork and send it back within 5 minutes. And then when I talked to HR, they told me the position that I was going to be going for. And they said, this is the fastest they've ever seen an interview happen, the fastest they've ever seen an offer drawn up. They said, we all like you. We want you on the team. And so they offered me the job. And that day I had an offer. So I declined the military and went into being a lab technician.
Very cool.
Yeah, wow. That is fantastic. For all the students that might be connected at the moment and listening, nothing beats integrity and working hard.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. And it also really, really points out how much this industry needs folks that can actually do. And that is the paramount aspect of all of that. So if you love technology and if you want to make this a career, get into it, do it. Yeah. Awesome.
Yes. And it might've been unconventional to get in that way. However, I did not know that this was a field when I started. Like, I didn't even think that this was a possibility. And then it happened, and it completely changed my life, which is why, Will, prior to us going live, I was telling you that I work with a college. I work with people that I randomly meet. Actually, there's a gentleman that I work with named Jordan Hogg, who's at SFA in Texas. And I met him at Walmart. And I was doing it like a Walmart grocery pickup, and I met him. He was very impressive, very smart, very personable. And I started talking to him, and I'm like, "Hey, have you ever thought about cybersecurity as a field or an industry that you would get into?" And he said, no, my family's more like into medical. Like, I think I'm going to go get a degree and be a nurse. And we started talking, and he changed his degree field. And now he'll be graduating next year. And when he graduates in the spring, I'm hoping to showcase the abilities that he has, because he has been amazing, absolutely amazing. And so that's what I try to do, is reach out to people that would have not normally been in this field, and hopefully change their lives the way that Russell, Tim, Andrew, John, and Jay have all changed my life. Because this, like I said, it would have never been a possibility had they had not given me a chance and actually taken the time to teach me something. So that's what I try to do pretty much my whole career, is how can I help?
And that's why I love you so much. It's because of that. Yeah, I was excited whenever you brought up some of the outreach there in that section, because I was like, oh my gosh, you and Will are going to be so much friends, friends, so much wow friends. Like,
not friend, wife, friend shaped.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I said that. Oh, there was Wolf is here. He's in the chat somewhere. Anyway, but him and his partner Stephanie, Dr. Stephanie, is a therapist, and they put on a conference last fall called Securing Sexuality, and it was like therapy practitioners and meet cybersecurity people, which was really neat because we were both terrified of each other. Anyway, I got to do a whole talk, and one of the first things that I did as an introduction to like my industry was, I was like, hackers are not always scary. Sometimes they're friendly and friend shaped, and they wanted to like make t-shirts. I was like, I thought that was just normal. Hackers are friend shaped. Classic. That's it. But yeah, I had like a whole slide that was like, hackers are friend shaped. They're not all bad. That's not the bad thing. Oh, good. We got a question from Jacob Lewis. Hey, Jacob. Good to see you, by the way. Do you feel like there is a skill gap in the InfoSec space, or a lack of people willing to teach in the InfoSec space? Ooh, I love Jacob's question. By the way, Jacob, I may have unintentionally but intentionally volunteered you to do something on October the 20th at LSU. Just letting you know. You're gonna be stoked. Anyway, go ahead. Answer. So Jacob, I hang out with Jacob and guide him on some stuff, and I got him looped into a couple other friends of mine so that he could have like a group, like a mentor group team, or a mentor team.
A peer group.
Jacob. Yeah. That.
I love it. So the question, do you feel like there's a skill gap in InfoSec space, or a lack of people willing to teach in the InfoSec space? I do. And I think that the reason why is because we think of InfoSec as a singular organism. Like, InfoSec is malware. And I think that we tend to forget that InfoSec is a whole plethora of ideas and theory, and sometimes it's tough to get in. I know people that start off with a degree, and they try to get in, and they go to interview after interview, and they're like, yeah, apparently for an entry-level job, they want 15 years of experience, and they want 2 bachelor's degrees and a master's, and where your patents are from. And it's like, that's not quite entry level. But what I've noticed, and what I've hired for back in previous roles when I've been a director of technology, is I've looked for personality and drive. And what I've noticed is that a lot of people tend to forget that if you're teachable, then you're workable. And man, that has been so surprising to see so many people that, like I said, I try to work with people and give them a chance. And it's been so amazing to see these people go from not knowing much, or just getting into the field, to now they talk very proficiently, and they have their own space that they fell into, because we start off very generalized, I think, and then we move into specifics. Like, my specifics right now are like DDoS mitigation, web application firewalls, load balancing, SSL offload and inspection, bot management, and yet that's only a small component of what cybersecurity is as a whole.
Yeah.
And I've also noticed that there's been a big shift of those that are in the application space moving into security space, and people in security space moving over to the network space, because we've blurred those lines so much now that you kind of have to know a generalized perspective of all of it. And very much so, I think that there's a gap of people willing to teach in the InfoSec space, because a lot of people tend to say, hey, RTFM, like this is, you need to understand this, you need to read the manuals. And instead of doing that, I think that people are afraid of kind of putting themselves out there and making their knowledge be known, because maybe you don't know as much, or there's gaps in your knowledge base. And so maybe sometimes people are just afraid to do it. But I'm not, only because I know how far I can go. And it may not be far enough to get somebody like well versed in everything, but I think it's enough to give them a generalized idea of what they want to do and where they want to go in the field. Otherwise, they all get trapped into what it is I do. and that's also not good, because there's so much that they can do.
Right.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. So with that perspective, and I have a pretty good idea what your answer will be. Why do you suppose they're always asking for those 15 years of experience plus?
I think it's because they forget that everybody started somewhere. So you have a infrastructure that's already set up, that's already built, and they look at this and they go, well, it took me 15 years to learn this. And so we need somebody that can match that knowledge base and that can come in and perform at the same level, if not better than what I'm doing. And even though it's an entry level position, it's kind of like, hey, we're going to put it out there and see what we can get, because we'd rather start with top tier. And then if we don't find it, we can work our way down the list. And I think that's kind of the way that the perspective works for that, or the thought process is, hey, let's try to get the best we can for the amount that we're paying, and then we'll reduce down if our expectations are too high.
Yeah, I would throw in from the way that you've learned, from your background, that elements of higher ed are completely broken, right? And that's from somebody from higher ed, right?
I was trying to go the more PC route.
Yeah, don't. Because this needs to change, right? When I started, I was the director of cybersecurity and networks for the college, and then came over to the teaching side. So I'm 100% behind you there, because of how you learned, how you developed, how you grew was not an academic, theoretical endeavor.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's hard to, I think, get some practical knowledge and experience outside of having somebody mentor. So for those that are watching, like, if you have people around, mentor them, because a lot of times there's people that have a lot of promise but no direction, and like there's plenty of resources out there, but most people aren't aware of something like a Go Hack Me, where they can go and actually learn cybersecurity, and they can learn DAST and FAST, and they can understand threat modeling. And if they don't have somebody to help coach them or point them in that direction, we're losing really good people that could be in this field just because they lacked direction.
Absolutely. I agree 100%.
Yeah, it's big. I've had people ask me before, they're like, I want to get into cybersecurity. This is what I'm interested in. What do you recommend? I'm like, okay, so that's real vague. And you basically just told me you wanted to get into the medical field, and then asked me whether or not you should be a doctor, a surgeon, a paramedic, a nurse, a lab tech, right? Like, there's so many, like, that's, and cybersecurity is is bigger than I think a lot of people think or realize it is, on the nuances and specializations that you can go down. Just so much like the medical industry, right? And I always use that analogy because my mom was a nurse for like 30 years. So that's why I go to it. But you gotta do a little more research than that, or interface. And I think having mentors around and understanding what they do may help lead you in a direction, but you need to diversify your mentors, right? Like whenever Jacob's amazing, you guys. He's in the Baton Rouge area. If you guys want to hang out with Jacob, go hang out with Jacob. He knows like the best lunch spot, by the way. It's down by Exxon, but it was fantastic. I can't remember the name of it. All of a sudden, I think it was like Blues, BLLUE', maybe. Jacob, correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, it was amazing. Go meet Jacob for lunch right there, and he'll tell you all about how it was. He just reached out to me, or I think we met at a conference, and he was like, "Hey, can I talk to you sometimes about whatever this, like, I need some mentors." I introduced him to one of my mentors who knew more about going down the certification routes and what certifications are available. Because his name is Jonathan Kemet. I've done episodes with him before. Will, you know John. But he's like was the Oklahoma, or still is. I think he was the Oklahoma president for their ISACA or ISSA chapter. Anyway, he was the dude like to go to. And just Jacob reaching out and just chitty chatting with me for a little while gave him that piece of direction. So Frank, to your point, to mentor other people, I am not technically, I am not deep in the weeds on the technical side of cybersecurity at all. I am more strategy, operations, right? Communications. I can help you with workflows and pushing things along. But I know the people who are technically minded and or can give you better directions on what certifications to follow and how to map that career path for yourself. And that's who you can help, is my point. Even if you think that you're not the end all be all, you might know somebody else who can also help this person, right? Like, be a resource center and open yourself up to that, because the people coming into the industry would love you so much. Just help a friend out here. Like, be accessible and open to it. And if it gets to be too much, it's too much. And you just tell them, hey, look, I can't right now. I can't help, but here's somebody I know that might be able to help. At least point them in a direction somewhere. I love that you made that point, Frank. And I'm sorry that I sat there and squirreled on the topic forever, but it's
no worries.
Important to me that people actually do that.
Well, there's also the disregard for what classes in college people are taking. Excuse me. So like what Rob said, he had an InfoSec class that flat out said, hey, this won't be useful in your career. It's about budgeting and planning more than security. But
do you know how many people come to me and they don't know how to do that? And then I get to help them do that? Oh my gosh. No, it is important. It's going to be, especially if you're in a management position.
Well, I think that's the difference between a cybersecurity admin and a cybersecurity engineer, is that engineers have to build a system of robust security with the budget that's given, and not based on what it is that they want. Because ideally, if we could all have an unlimited budget and get exactly what we want, then there would be no play for other vendors. There'd be no play for new technologies. And it would just all be the same, because you would just get the best of breed of everything. And sometimes people can't afford that.
No, they can't. But
so, yeah, but
there are ways around that. Like, that's what I do with Secure Nation, is we negotiate contracts, professional services, tooling, cybersecurity stuff. Like, that's what we do. We negotiate, right? Let's say, okay, so like Secure Nation and Radware are partners, right? And you want DDoS mitigation from Radware, okay? And we go to Radware and I go, hey, Frank, they need a quote. And you set them up a quote. And then the customer comes back and says, we can't, this is how much we had in our budget for this. I will be open and honest with Frank if you let me, and I'll tell him, hey, this is how much they can do. And then Frank will do everything in his power to help you. Like, everything. Even
including re-architect.
Yeah. Like, everything in your power. in his power. Like, we will go back and relook at what your actual goals are, make sure we've got exactly what it is with nothing extra. Like, that's you. Just be honest about stuff is all I'm saying. Just be
okay. Here's an interesting thought. Let's put this out here, because Frank doing a fantastic job here. Awesome. We've got Rob, we've got Jacob, we've got Danny, we've got a whole bunch of people here.
Yeah.
If we were to completely scrap things and start from scratch, where you had higher ed and you had businesses and working with this industry, what would be the solution? How would you redesign that to make it actually work?
Ooh,
how about that?
Thanks, Trent. So I think that there's a couple of perspectives that I have on this, and I don't know if this is a thought for revamping the experience as a whole, or if it's kind of using some of the existing infrastructure and just revamping a little bit of how we're going forward. But
I was just trying to get freedom.
Yeah, right now, one of my biggest things is colleges talking to employers and saying, "What do you need?" And then those employers saying, "Hey, we need this, and here's a commitment for what it is that we're doing." Because I've noticed that a lot of people get out with degrees and they don't do what their degree field actually is in. Like, their degree of study is in journalism, and now they're in tech, or their degree is in tech, and now they're a manager at a car dealership. And it's like, okay, how do we get people to not only get a degree in the field, but then project them into the field after that, so that they actually can utilize the skills that they learned? And to me, I think it's a lot of two-way communication between education and companies. And companies need to maybe do more with colleges and say, "Hey, this is what we're looking for," and they can blast that out to like, they all fill out a form, and then that form gets blasted out to the colleges, so the colleges understand what they're looking for and where they're going. And if I could revamp the entire thing, I think that colleges should be less about the basic studies that are required and be more about practical application. Something like what you've built, Will, if you want to talk about that, is hey, here's a SOC, here's a lab, here's something that you can actually work in, and while you're doing this, you're also getting an education outside of that. And like Jacob's saying, project-based learning, right? Like, that is a really good way to understand whether you like this field or you don't. A lot of times people will spend a lot of money to go 4 years into this to find out they actually don't like it. So that's also a thing.
Absolutely. 100%. When we designed our program, we brought in businesses from all around Tucson and said, "Okay, we're going to get off our academic high horse. What do you want?" Right? Because without it, and then also what we did with the Arizona Cyber Warfare Range was that it's free and open to the public. Anyone can come in and do that, because you touched on some fantastic elements there. One, how many of us really know that if you don't love IT, you don't want to get in this field? Because it's constantly changing, it's constantly growing. It's like a constant college cram, right? If you love it, you're a duck in water. If you don't love it, you don't want to be there. So identify early, absolutely, of what you like to do. And then that broad element. But yeah, a real tight collaboration with business and higher ed is awesome. And then helping higher ed get around some of its difficulties, to where trying to change anything in curriculum takes years.
Yes, it does.
IT can't afford years for change.
Yeah, and I've noticed that's a problem at a couple of colleges that I've worked with, that they're like, "Hey, we spun up a new system." I'm like, "Well, that system's old now." And they're like, "Well, it took us 5 years to get approvals and build the curriculum and get everything together." And I'm like, maybe you should have thought about going in this direction. Like, it's really difficult to tell them that their baby's ugly, but sometimes you have to point it out and say, hey, this is not going to work.
Yeah.
100%.
If you need help telling somebody that their baby's ugly, I'm really good at it. In a nice way. I've done it several times at this point.
And Danny brings up some elements there of where, all sorts of difficulties, but good things with tying education elements to certs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I've noticed certs are very impactful here in this field.
Pardon me?
I said I've learned that certs are very impactful here in our field. Like if you're certified in something and you have a degree, like it makes it a lot more tangible for you to be interviewed, because they're like, oh, you have this bachelor's degree. That's great. What did you do with it? Oh, now you also have wireless, or you have certified ethical hacker, or you have, XYZ certifications. And they're like, okay, so you actually have a concentration into something, and certs really help.
They do.
They
do.
I think Rob mentioned that that the trades education, where you go learn a trade and then get into the field, that they kind of have it right. And I kind of agree with that. Like, I always tell people that are already in a career. So they're not 18, 19 starting out. They're like 30, 35, 40. And they're like, hey, I need a better career, or I need a different change. And I always tell them, hey, go start with the CCNA. CCNA shows that you're able to learn very complex infrastructure, and you're able to not only create it, but maintain it. And then we start with CCNA, and then it's like, well, if you want to go into cybersecurity, Try Hack Me is a really good resource for that, because a lot of times they don't have time to do 2 years of education to get an associate's. And so like, okay, well, if you can showcase that in 3 months, which I actually have a guy that I worked with, Aaron Tarleton, that he didn't know anything. He was a farmer from Oklahoma. And in 3 months went from knowing nothing to getting a CCNA, and then getting a job with a great company out in Dallas. And sometimes that's all it takes is getting that certification, that level of understanding, and then moving into a field, as long as you have a foot in the door.
Yeah, the comments here.
I figured it out.
Ooh, fancy.
Oh wait, that's mirrored. Hang on.
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah.
What you were tinkering with down there?
What? I wasn't. What? I know I was paying attention the whole time.
Figured it out.
I'm so proud of me.
This is awesome. I mean, look how the comment boards have gone crazy here. I love it.
I love our audience. They're the best on the planet.
Right? And this is fantastic material that we can take and go back and use and talk and say, hey, folks, let's really think about this. Because even what about if you took elements of what are considered internships, but worked it in with education, so that they weren't such isolated internships, but on-ramps? Because, Frank, it sounds like that's heavily what you did in your company, right? It's kind of like you started off with an internship that grew and grew and grew.
Yeah, well, at one of my previous companies, which I think was amazing with interns, was Trend Micro. And they did an amazing job with interns. They would take in interns. It was a paid internship, and then they would rotate them into different areas of this field. So they would get to sit with support engineers. They would sit with customer success managers, sales engineers, and they got to learn a little bit about each one. so that not only did the employer get to see what it is that they liked and what they excelled at, but the people that they would theoretically be working with could also then give comments and say, hey, like he did really good here, and we think that they would excel in our section. And then you have these people fighting over these interns, and they're like, no, I want this guy. No, I want this guy. There's a guy, Alex Eggy, that was really good, and he since moved back to California. But every field that he went into, they really liked him. And the internship helped to point him in the direction that he wanted to go, which was more on the application side, so more developer role. But he got to understand that and say, hey, I like cybersecurity, but I really like the development side more than anything. And he worked there for several years and then moved on. But like I think that's a great thing, is to be able to find people. And I think the biggest problem that companies have is, well, how do you know you're not getting a dud? And I think that's
wait, I know this. Yes. I went and had a snack with my favorite tech systems rep in my local area. She focuses on government and higher education. Anyway, go find a recruiter.
Yes.
If you want a contract, and if you're a hiring manager, go find these people, or you can talk to me. I know who they are too. But anyway, if you're a hiring manager, you can get somebody on contract, and it's like a try before you buy kind of. I know that's so weird. We're talking about human beings here, but it is. It's like a test drive for your human being on a contract that you can do, and it's also for your budgetary reasons and everything else. It doesn't come out of the same thing that your full-time employees come out of. It comes out of the other side, right? For product and professional services instead. Okay. So you might actually have wiggle room, and you don't realize it. But get a contract employee first, and then you can. It's like contract to hire, right? So you can try them out, and then work on that. So look, students, go find the recruiters. You can search them on LinkedIn. They're there. They're easy to spot. Trust me, they want to be your friend. Go find them. And then if you are a hiring manager, or you know a hiring manager, introduce them to your recruiter. Do that. That's make happy. We'll have to have Cassidy on a coffee table, and then you guys can meet her. She is fantastic. She's just amazing. She's like changing lives around our market anyway. She's got some beautiful stories, and I have some like personal stories about the company she works for. Anyway, we need to do it. My big bright idea bubble has gone off, and now we're gonna have Cassidy on. I've decided it's not up to her anymore. She's just coming on. That's how that's gonna work.
Yeah, and I think recruiters do a really good job of pre-screening a lot of these folks for you. So even when you do the try before you buy, they're already pre-vetted to make sure that they at least have some competency level of what it is that they're doing. And I actually have a friend that's a recruiter, Scott Shapiro from Stay Golden Solutions, that he's the one that hooked me up with Radware. And when you
need to introduce me to Scott. Who is Scott? Shout out and make me a friend. Make me a friend.
Yeah, he's the CEO of Stay Golden Solutions, and he's a technical recruiter. And
that's awesome.
He only works in the cybersecurity field and only on the engineering side. And cool. When I met him, he pre-screened me, made sure that I understood what it was I was talking about, and this was all well before I had an interview with Radware. And he was really good about making sure that I wasn't just somebody that was on paper, had the knowledge or accolades or the check boxes, but he actually wanted to talk to me and make sure that it was something that was real.
Yeah.
Because I've seen a lot of people with alphabet soup that couldn't even SSH into like command line, right? So it's
they know how to take tests.
Yes, really good at taking tests.
And that's where it comes back to the whole certs area, right? Because you have a lot of people that can go through and do very well on certs. Doesn't mean they know how to do. So you kind of need the overall bring that together, and you need to have the hands-on.
Yeah. Yep. Just in case anybody's wondering, I am the opposite of that. I don't test well at all. Thanks, neurospicy brain.
I don't study well.
I don't. I study okay, but I have serious test anxieties that are really bad. So like I've studied for my Sec Plus. I've studied for my CISSP. I've had mentorship programs that I've been a part of, all kinds of stuff. I know it. I am my test anxiety is so high. I have not even scheduled my tests.
Oh no.
I should, and I can't. I'm just like, I just can't. It's the anxiety just talking about it. Okay.
Well,
I'm the opposite. I'm the can do, no test.
I'm terrible at studying. So when I have to study, I lay in bed and I will grab the book or read the section that I need to read while I'm in bed. And it's a whole day thing because I will read and fall asleep. And then I will wake up, read, and fall asleep. And I have to do this to retain knowledge. Otherwise, but I will do it because I have to. However, like practical experience, like being able to actually say, hey, let me log into it and try to break it, to me is the best way for me in particular to study.
Yeah. I like Rob says I test terrible. Me too.
That's very interesting, right? Because how many folks in our industry are neurospicy, follow those lines, maybe have hard times testing, have a hard time studying, yet when you put them with hands-on, they're brilliant.
Yes.
So how effective are our measurements with all the tests?
You know, that's actually a really interesting question because like I know a guy, Terry Roddery. I won't say what company he's at. Somebody can Google that, I'm sure. But he is, by any stretch, I think, of anybody's imagination, would be a genius. Me and him were talking, and he wasn't fully versed in VMware on like a Friday. And I said, oh, well, this is kind of how it works. This is what you do. Like, here's the web UI. And we kind of went through that. And on Monday, I was going to show him how to set up and do a demo where we kind of build it from scratch. And he's like, oh, I'll do this. And he got into the command line and like wrote a script that did everything. It did absolutely everything. Assigned the license keys. It set up the network for us. It did everything.
Perfect.
And went back up, grabbed all of the updates and automatically updated everything for us. And within like an hour, everything was up and running perfect. And
wow.
And I always go back to him because if he had asked that question to somebody else, they might have disqualified him as not knowing what he's doing.
Right.
But yet, because he asked it to me and I was able to just point him in a general direction, he just took off with it. And that's what he did all weekend. And he's just...
the hyper focus is real, man. He got interested. He was interested. That's all it takes for a neurospicy brain. And they will forget to sleep, eat, bathe, go potty. Like, yes. if you are the caregiver for a neurospicy person, we love you so much and thank you for making sure that we eat and breathe air.
And have soup.
Because the hyper focus is real.
Well, that's why confunk is a real thing, you know?
Yes. Yeah. Also, shower regularly while you're at conferences. Okay. Either that or bring some stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's why I love like the Red Hat test, right? Things like that. It's like, here's a box, make it work. And you need all this. Go. Yeah.
My favorite. So Frank, you're traveling today? Because that's a hotel room. That's a real background.
Yes.
It looks the way that it is. I didn't realize it after we kind of were like, yeah, close that blind. Yeah, turn that lamp on. Yeah, good job. It looks fake.
It is fake. It's a virtual background.
It is not.
No, this one is not fake. It's very much so real.
Yeah. So where are you traveling today? Where are you headed? You're headed home. It's Friday, right?
Yes, I'm coming back from Will's area out in Arizona. I say his area. It's actually Phoenix, but yeah, I'm coming back from Phoenix,
and a half, right?
And then I'll be in Black Hat next week.
That's why we're mentioning Confunk.
Yeah.
Frank's gonna be a Black Hat. So if you are also at Black Hat, and look, I'm stamping the Rachel name on the Frank name. Okay, Frank's good people. He's not sleazy. He's not a used car salesman. He's good people. And if you haven't figured that out this whole time, or if you're just joining, that's why I'm telling you. He's good people. Go hang out with Frank at Black Hat. If you're there, reach out to him. Meg, can we? Oh, she already did it. Meg, you're the best. Thank you. QR code goes to his LinkedIn page. You can also just search his name if you want to, or you can click on his hyperlink. I think that's at the top of this event posting thing. Also, go follow Secure Nation. We're doing a show next week on Friday. Who we got next week on Friday, Meg? Everybody's like, who are you talking to? So if you don't know, Meg Jett is moderating in the background here. Oh, we're going to be talking to Peter H. Gregory about some GRC. Who was it earlier that said GRCs are the worst gatekeepers? Somebody made a comment earlier.
I think that was Rob.
So we're going to be talking to one of my friends that is in the GRC space. It's going to be a lot of fun. Frank, when are we going to hang out, man? We got to hang out again.
You know, I know we didn't touch on it too much, but I run all of Radware's channel engineering for North America.
That's fantastic.
So I travel all over the country now, which is super amazing, and I get to meet super great people everywhere I go. Yeah, we need to hang out soon. And for those that are listening in, if you're like, oh well, he's in Dallas, or like this is in the South. I'm all over America and Canada. So just reach out, and more than likely I'm coming to a city or state near you.
Yep. Look, so you're going to be at DEF CON next week. So I don't do a lot of travel in August. It's let's see, in 2 weeks from today is my 40th birthday. Welcome to my birthday. I know.
Happy birthday.
I made it.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
So it's my birthday month. So I try not to travel during my birthday month. And yes, it takes a whole month. I'm a lot to celebrate. Also, my kids go back to school. So I can't leave because there's a lot of preparations involved with getting 3 little ones back into school after a summer being feral. Mom can't leave right then. Anyway, but let's see. I think it's the second week of September. I'm going to be in the Indianapolis area. And then the 4th week of September, I'm going to be at Grand Rapids and GurCon. And then the 1st week of October, I'm trying to get to Dallas. The 2nd week of October, I'm definitely going to be in Dallas area because we're going to the Texas Renaissance Festival.
Which one? Scarborough Fair or
the one Todd Mission?
Oh, okay.
Todd, the big one.
Yeah, I was going to say Scarborough Fair is going on, I think, right now.
Yeah, no, not that one.
I haven't been there.
We're doing opening weekend. It's going to be awesome. If y'all are that kind of nerd, if you're that flavor of nerd, come on by. Just ping me, and I'll tell you where our campsite is, and you can come have some s'mores.
Wait, what day is that?
October 12th. We're doing October 12th.
Some people say I don't look like a nerd, but that is my cup of tea. So.
Yes. It's going to be fun. Oh, I love it. We dress up. So if you don't dress up and come by the campfire, we're going to call you a pleb. That's the rules. Them's the breaks. Anyway, this is the part where we tell everybody bye and have a good weekend.
Yes.
Frank, it was awesome, dude.
Yes. Thanks, Will. Thanks, Rachel. Thanks for the moderators in the background that you don't see that are silently working. And thanks for all those that joined. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Definitely. We love you all. We'll see you next week. And thank you again, Frank. You're the best. Hold on tight, though. Don't leave once I hit the end stream. You just hold on tight.